So we had this thing called the zero product property. Okay? All that's happening here is we're setting our equations, right, whatever we factor, equal to 0 to figure out where the parabola crosses the x-axis. So all we have to do to solve this problem, first one's always the easiest kind, is just take each parenthesis, set it equal to 0, and then solve for the variable. Okay, so on this first one here, we just subtract 1 from both sides. Second one, we just add 2. Now, if you have half a brain, you can realize the fact that if you just have t minus or t plus some number, your answer is just going to be the opposite sign with that variable, meaning instead of -2 here, it's just t equals +2. So you don't even really need to write that step because all of you guys can figure that out. This one you could also do in your head, but make sure you share your work on your homework anyways. Got to divide the 4 out, so we get t equals -1/4. So I'll give you a chance to write that down. I'm going to show you on the graphing calculator what this looks like, just because it's a nice built-in double check in case you have a graphing calculator. You can just put both these parentheses into the y equal and then double check where it actually crosses the x-axis. So I'm going to show you that. So we have 4, we have to use x in the graphing calculator. So 4x plus 1, and then x minus 2 was the second one, I believe. Yes. And then when you hit graph, I'm going to actually check my window out. I knew something was weird. So if we look at this thing, you can see this parabola crosses right here at about -1/4 and right here at +2. So that's all we're figuring out by setting these parentheses equal to 0 is where it crosses the x-axis, which is called a 0 when you're talking about any polynomial function, whether quadratic, cubic, quartic, etc. Okay, so I'm going to have you try B on your own. So you're going to take 2x plus 3, set it equal to 0, solve for x, and then x minus 4, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. And I'll tell you what you should get before you even begin. So just double check, make sure you can get the correct answer there. Should be pretty straightforward. Looks like people are done for the most part. We're not doing that. Okay, so next step up in difficulty. So we went from problem 1 to problem 2, or example 1 to example 2. So the only difference with example 2 now is that we have to factor it. We know that we have to factor and set it equal to 0 because they asked for solutions, and it says equals 0. Simple as that. So when we factor, it's what multiplies to the top, it's what adds to the bottom, a times c up top, b on the bottom, so the b term is 8, the a term, a times c, a is 1 here, c is 15, 1 times 15 is 15. So what, I wrote 18 though. What factors of 15 add to 8? Many of you already know it's 3 and 5. If you don't already know that, then you just go 15 divided by 1 is 15, 15 divided by 2 doesn't work, 15 divided by 3 does, and that's it. So 3 and 5. So when we have a leading coefficient right here of 1, you can just go ahead and make your parentheses. So my two parentheses are x plus 3 and x plus 5. And then we're setting that equal to 0 right there. So I don't care if you skip that step and you go straight to setting them equal to 0 and solving. And then if you recognize the fact that it's going to be -3 and -5, I don't care if you show me this next step of subtracting 3, because we could teach like a 4-year-old to do that kind of problem as well. Right, so if you get that, you could just write x equals -3 and x equals -5. I'm totally fine with you skipping that step in green. Okay, so simple factoring where you have 1 as the leading coefficient. The other easy part of this factoring is that C is positive. So when C is positive, and if you're looking for flashcard opportunities, this is a perfect one. C is positive on one side of the flashcard. On the other side of the flashcard, you want to write add the factors. So that would obviously indicate if C is negative, you subtract the factors. Okay, things that will really help you to remember as you go through more and more math classes. Okay, I want you to try this one on your own. C is negative here, so you're subtracting the factors. You're looking for factors of 20 that are just 1 apart. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. You should get, your answer should be -5 and +4 once you're done. So see if you can get that. Just be careful. It's really easy to make a sign error. So just be careful with it. So if we do the cross thing, we should have -20, +1, 5 minus 4. So when I say you can just set the parentheses equal to 0, you can just do this. And that's totally fine to do on your homework as well. And like I said, you can skip that next step as well. But again, if it helps you to understand, to show this step, then show that step. Totally fine. Okay? So that's that one. We're going to do C on the next page. 2a squared minus 15a plus 8. So factoring with the leading coefficient. So that begs the question, what the heck does a leading coefficient mean? So it's leading because the highest exponent has a number in front of it. Coefficient is the number in front. It's leading because it's the highest exponent. So in this problem, the leading coefficient is 2. Okay? So that's what I mean by factoring with the leading coefficient. So we're going to go ahead and do our full Indian method this time. So A times C up top, which is 36. B on the bottom, which in this case is -15. Realize that C is positive again. So when C is positive, we're adding the factors. Because B is negative, they're both going to be negative. Okay, so factors of 36. And if you realize as you're writing down factors that you already have the correct one, you don't have to write the whole list of factors. Like I realized right here at 3 and 12, that adds up to 15. That 15 is negative, so both of them have to be negative. Okay, then we take the a term, the 2a squared, and that becomes the numerator of two fractions. And as I've said all semester long, this is where organized use of color really helps, because then you know where the 2a squared came from. Right? And if you highlight things like the sides of the cross, you'll know where those came from as well. You just have to remember to add that a to the denominator. And then we just reduce the fractions. So the squared and the a always cancel. So our first parenthesis is set, 2a minus 3. Again, I'm just going to set it equal to 0. And 2 and negative 12, you can divide 2 into both those, top and bottom, and you get negative 1, or positive 1 over negative 6. So our second parenthesis is just a minus 6 equals 0. Okay, first one you should get 3 halves, second one you should get positive 6. I'll just show those steps. So, over here we get a equals 6. On the left we get 2a equals positive 3. And then the last step we just have to divide by 2. So we get a equals 3 over 2. So the two places where this thing crosses the x-axis are at 3 halves, or 1.5 as a decimal, and positive 6. Remember, with these kind of problems, we can have the parabola either cross the x-axis 2 times, 1 time, or not at all. Okay? So last one we're going to do already, last one we're going to do. So write this one down. The only thing they're doing to screw with your head is putting the 18 on the right side of the equal. So all you got to do right away at the beginning is just subtract 18 from both sides. And then it's just the same process we just went through. Slightly bigger numbers. The c term is negative, so we're subtracting the factors. So if you like writing those helpful hints down, if you don't, you should. If c is negative, we subtract factors. So when we do the cross, a times c up top is negative 72, negative 21 on the bottom, and then we got to write factors of 72. So I'll write them all out, even though I realized earlier on that we'll have the one that works. So when you subtract, which ones are 21 apart? Well, 3 minus 24 is negative 21. So we can just write that down. Then we're going to take our 4a squared, write it as a numerator of two fractions. I always like doing the highlight thing. Just makes it more clear to everyone. And then from the side of the cross, the 3 and the negative 21 go down here and down there. And then you just got to reduce. This should be 24 though, not 21. Important to realize when you screw up. Right, and I was just looking at that second fraction and it wasn't going to reduce, which is the first little clue for my brain that something was amiss. So just pay attention. So the squared and the a always cancel. 4 divides into negative 24, 1 and negative 6. And then you just go 4a plus 3 equals 0.
Is it 4x? With the original one was 4x.
It's okay. We're going a's today, I guess. A minus 6 equals 0. Yeah, if you switch the letters in the middle, I don't care at all. It's no big deal. Because I did. There's your homework. And just finish this off. We're going to subtract 3 and divide by 4. Over here, we're going to add 6 to both sides. Last step, divide that 4 out. You get a equals negative 3 over 4 and 6. Your homework's right here. These problems, 34 and 36, are going to be challenge problems. Everyone should try challenge problems. And you've got 1 hour and 3 minutes to work on this homework. So if you got questions from old assignments, you can ask. This assignment, you can ask. If you finish this and want to peace out, totally fine by me. I'm going to go home and do, I'll be here for the remainder of this class, but I'll do access time from home today. So I probably won't have my computer on until like 3:15. It's a little hard for me to get home and leave the building and pack up in 10 minutes, but I can do it in 15.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah?
How would you graph what we just did?
You don't have to,
Okay.
But-
Do you have to graph out all of them still?
nope. You're just solving.
Okay, but how would you graph it?
So this one, if you had to graph, so it crosses the x-axis at negative 3/4 and 6. Just make a dot there. And then negative 3/4 would be about there. We know it's right side up. So 0, I'm going to put it in here too. So when you have a leading coefficient, that's what, actually let me just erase that. That's what it'll kind of screw up. Come on. Here we go. So 4x squared minus 21x minus 18. So we got to switch our window so we can see the bottom of this thing. It should be good. Right, so it's going to cross down at 0, negative 18, remember, because the C term is the y-intercept. So my negative 18 is off the graph, but let's say it would be like down here. and then you just have to draw it out. So it's hard to graph, right? You'd have to do the negative b over 2a thing to get the axis of symmetry to be able to graph, and then you got 0, negative 18, and the two other points, and then you could get the graph.
And so for the negative 3/4, how would you graph that point?
Right here. Right? Negative 1 would be right here, so it's just really close to negative 1. So you just kind of guesstimate it. Yeah.
I've got to leave class in half an hour.
No worries.
For the adopting.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Yeah, just let me know.
Thank you. Anybody needs a breakout room, let me know. I'm going to like to get Elise in a breakout room. And I can stop this recording as well.